Tyler Jackson of PlaySheetSports.com here, and I am joined by John H. Lilly, head coach of the Independence Patriots. Coach, thank you for joining us today. First thing I want to start off with is, it's usually the first week of camp for a lot of people, but you guys, for a couple of years now, you've done the whole spring ball, you've done the whole summer ball thing. What are some of your impressions early on from what you've seen? Because you're not coming in blind; you're coming in with a good idea of what you got.
Yeah, I think now with the way the rules are now, and if you utilize your flex days and those type things, you can get a lot done before you even get to this point. But right now, we're just focusing on getting in shape and making sure that we can do the little things that you can't work on when you don't have pads on. So, that's mainly what we're doing and what we're trying to get done. We're nowhere near where I want to be, I can tell you that. But, two things are going to happen. One, regardless of what the score is, we're going to be in shape.
Gotcha. You talked about being in shape, and one thing that we've talked about is offensively, you want to move back a little bit to what you've done in 2021, 22, where it was whistle blows, 15, 20 seconds, we're on the ball, getting ready to snap again. You had a younger team last year, and you tried to do it at points, but it was just a little bit too much, especially with as many moving parts as you had due to injury. Where do you feel like it is? Where do you feel like you are with that point at the aspect of your team right now?
Well, I think mentally we're there. You ask your quarterback to do an awful lot when you do that kind of stuff, but we do want to get the ball off quickly. That's kind of been the way we've done things for 4 or 5 years. We had to back off that last year because we had a freshman quarterback, and then we had two freshman linemen and a sophomore lineman starting on the line, so it was just too overwhelming for them. And then we wasn't in shape. So if you're going to try to play fast, you got to be able to play a lot of people, and you have to be in shape, of which neither happened last year. So the goal for us this year is to be able to play a lot of people and get them in shape. But in turn, they got to do their part. They got to be in shape. And they got to do what they're supposed to do. And those are the things we're working on right now. And we struggle at learning on that sometimes, but we're going to get there.
Speaking of that philosophy, you don't see a lot of teams do that. There are a couple teams throughout the state, but definitely not something you see a lot of locally. And I feel like you've really been the epitome of adapt or die. With the way you've kind of modernized things and brought different things that are popular to apply them to your program and your offense. Where's that philosophy come from? Because it's very easy to get set in what you did and not want to adapt to it. Where does that come from?
Well, I think you adapt or you die. And, it's one of those things that, sometimes it's not bad being different. And we kind of take pride in being a little bit different and doing those type things. But, what's happened is the kids have changed. And a lot of people say they haven't changed, but they have changed. And especially since COVID, they've changed a lot. And they have so much information and at their fingertips. And, they learn things quicker, and they got, we don't need, you don't even need to say textbooks. They can get on AI and get the answers. So, sitting around and doing things the old way was getting redundant for me. I thought it was getting counterproductive. So we try to do new things, and we try to have fun with it, and we try to challenge them with it, and we try to challenge them to think. And we don't always accomplish that goal on the thinking part, but we will challenge them. But I do think that you got to change a little bit, and I think that's where older coaches sometimes get in trouble. Not doing those type things, but we try to. I'm not saying we're successful with it. There's still some non-negotiables, like getting in shape and those type things. And it's never fun to get in shape. Nobody, I mean, you've been down to Titans. It's never fun getting in shape, but it's, you got to embrace the suck and you got to do it.
Now, this might be a reach, but also you grew up a Raiders fan. You are still a Raiders fan, for better or worse. And they were one of the real innovative franchises of the '70s. Them and the Chiefs, Hank Stram, and all that. Do you feel like kind of growing up and seeing them do different things also leaves a bit of an impression on you when it's like, hey, these guys are throwing the ball, they're talking about spreading it out and different things in there where everyone kind of wants to line up and run the Lombardi sweep and things like that. Do you feel like stuff ever kind of leaves an imprint like that on you?
Well, I'm not sure the Raiders had anything to do with it. If we played like the Raiders play, we'd be 0-10 for the next. We've gone from one of the best franchises in the league to just being horrible. It's hard to be a Raiders fan right now, but we're loyal and hopefully we can get some things changed. I'm optimistic with the coaches that are there, and once again an old coach who tries to do innovative things, and he's still playing. He's still coaching at 72. So it does lend a lot to it. And when you watch the coaches like Pete Carroll and you read their books and you read some of the guys, even Saban to a certain extent, Saban was run the ball. And then, when they started changing some of the rules in his last 4 or 5 years, he's throwing the ball around quite a bit. So, I think you do have to adapt to the team you have and the people you have, and I don't think you're going to get kids to come out if you're going to run a Lombardi sweep. You might every once in a while, you might get that rare bunch that will do it. But, we want our basketball kids to play football. We want our skilled people to play, and that gives them a chance to come out there and play wide receiver, and they don't have to worry about, getting out there and getting beat up.
You talked about your skill players there. I've, maybe prematurely, but I've done the triplets. I think a couple of them have already established themselves really well. Silas, candidate for the Warner Award, obviously 1,800-yard rusher, first-team All-State running back. Brock was a first-team All-State quarterback last year. And I spoke with Brock, but I think a lot of people are kind of missing out on Christian Linksweiler, not talking about him. I think that he's, if he's not the best receiver in Double-A, he's right there as a first-team All-Stater. 700 yards a year ago. Just a guy that I feel like was Brock's best friend as a young quarterback that could just track a ball and go make a play on it. Talk about the continuity of these skill positions and the luxury it brings you as a coach. Because I know you've had some really good ones over the last couple of years, but this group has really had a chance to gel together differently than I think that any other ones have.
Yeah, because we had Trey and Cyrus, but then we had to move Trey to quarterback, so that disrupted that a little bit. But, I think that has a lot to do with it. I've always believed from day one, 31 years ago as a head coach, that if you got your quarterback coming back, that helps a lot. I think most coaches would say, and especially one that you trust, that kind of does things the way you want them done, and you don't have to worry about too many things. But yet Silas in the backfield, he allows us to do some things with the wide receivers. And, C. Links is a great player. He works hard. He does. He went out for track to try to work on his speed, and then he fell in love with track. And that's the beauty of being a multi-sport athlete. But I don't want to cut back on the wide receiver on the other side. Caden Bradbury, 2-year starter on that side, and he's probably, if you want to say, other than Silas in the weight room, I'd say Bradbury in the weight room has bulked up. He's put on about 20 pounds, and he also a track guy, and we hired Mr. Stevens to help us in the weight room with our speed training, and he coaches our track and cross country, and I really think he's done a great job with that. Max has done a great job, on the strength part. And of course you got Cole Laxton, he started at slot last year and he's back. So all three of our, core receivers are back. So, it's given Brock time to come up in the summer and do some things.
So I don't really want to answer your question for you, but I do want to play off of it. I don't think it's any surprise or any secret that you're coming in as one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win the state championship in Double-A. I know the approach of it; it's never a guarantee or anything like that. But how do you guys kind of keep the kids on track? Because it can be tough, and do you feel like that schedule kind of plays a role in it? Because your schedule it might be more difficult than the playoff field, if we're being honest.
Well, it's been a teachable moment this week, on practicing to a certain level. So if you're going to have that expectation of playing in the game, you got to have that expectation level in practice. And it's been a lot of tough love this week. On make sure you don't you read your press clippings. All that stuff's rat poison. There's been a lot of teams you've had them. There's a lot of teams preseason number 1 or 2, and they end up not even making playoffs. It's just you got to do what you got to do. So the focus is on just focusing on us. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. I agree with. I heard you interview Coach Simon. I agree exactly with what Coach Simon says. If we can get to the playoffs, all right, I think we'll be a tough out, but we got to get there. And that schedule is a good one. It's a challenging one. When you play 3 teams that are 4 or 5 hours away that you don't even know anything about, it's hard to scout them, but guess what? It's hard for them to scout us too. So just concentrate one game at a time, one day at a time, and stack them, and just focus in on us and what we need to do to be successful. And that's what we're trying to do. And like I said, it's been a tough week mentally, on making sure they understand that, we got to play each and every week. We can't just come out and go play a team that we're just 100% better than. There's nobody on their schedule hardly that's the case. So there's going to be a lot of fourth quarter games, a lot of last minute play games, and we got to be mentally tough. And that's something that we've been stressing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to move to the defensive side of the ball because I've been doing my camp tours and I've been talking to different coaches outside of that. And one coach has really brought up to me that they just kind of project you. They're talking about two of your defensive players and Landon Riddle and Isaiah Conley. They're like, man, like those are two tough kids to game plan for. Just talk about the impact they bring back. Obviously, Landon was a first team All Stater, just a guy that really smart, tough player. Just I think he's a really good football player, can get to the quarterback, and then you've been high on Isaiah and just his measurables and how he can be, and you think that his ceiling is incredibly high. Just talk about the force players you have because linebacker they can move up a little bit. I think Riddle stands up, but mostly they kind of cause a lot of havoc on that offensive line for offensive lines.
Well, yeah, and that's one reason why we put Riddle on the outside, so both of them are edge rushers. Largely because people were running away from Isaiah. So Isaiah's got one gear. I mean, that's all I got to say. I mean, it's hard to even practice with him sometimes. He's kind of like Harvey was. They have no concept of not going hard. Like you're not supposed to have any contact. This week, and it's almost impossible to put him out there because it's going to happen. And he's an OKG. Both of them are OKGs. They're my kind of guys. When those lights come on, they play. Now, sometimes what happens between then, that's different. But when the lights come on, they're players. The thing with Riddle's really smart. He can play on the inside, he can play on the outside, and if we got to move him back inside, we will. But we feel like we got two linebackers on the inside that we're comfortable with. Phelan's a 3-year starter. He's the Mike. He's the quarterback, and he's been with me for 3 years. We made some changes in our defense last year because of personnel, and I thought he did really well with it. And his reads are really well. And then we got, Talon Atkins, a little wrestler. He qualified to go upstate last year in wrestling. He's built like a tank. He really started taking weightlifting serious in the off season. He's bulked up. He's muscular. So all four of them, all four of them are players. Now, if we can get them going in the right direction, that's my job. And, it's good to have, 4 guys in the secondary that started 2 years in a row now. With Bradbury and C. Links, Silas, and Cole Laxton. So we got 4 seniors in the secondary. So, yeah, I'll be disappointed if we're not a pretty good defensive football team. Now we got to get them in shape, and that's where we're at.
Absolutely. We talked about this last year in season. But you dealt with a lot of things from the schedule to the weather. There were at least 4 or 5 different games impacted by passing or weather or just cancellation overall. But one thing that really stood out was injuries. You guys suffered a lot of injuries, and I think you said in this offseason we kind of need to evaluate what we're doing or reevaluate to maybe help these guys stay healthy a little bit longer. Was there any change in your process, or was there anything that you discovered to kind of help with that? Because I think that this team's title hopes basically could hang on whether or not you guys can stay healthy. If you're healthy, I think you're hoisting a trophy. This is this is that rat poison, but I think you're hosting a trophy, hoisting a trophy at Lilly on that final Saturday. And if not, it makes it a little bit tougher. But was there anything in your process that you found to help keep these guys healthier?
Well, playing more people, and last year we were really small on the offensive and defensive line because we had to move sniffers onto the line because of injuries and, our tight ends moving the guards and tackles, and defensive line was just, they were tough kids and they played hard and they gave you everything they got, but they were too little. We go up to play in the semifinals, and, a team that really wanted to beat us pretty bad because we beat them the previous 3 years. Well, and they just laid it on us, and they earned it, and they did it, and they whooped us, and we shook hands. But from that moment on, I think our linemen figured out we got to get bigger and we got to get stronger. So now there's 245-pounders or 285-pounders, and we really want to get to where we can play 6 defensive linemen and not just have to play 3 all the time. And that's what we did in 22, and it was really successful. But on the flip side of that, we got to have them. They got to be able to come in the game and produce. And that's a little bit of that tough love we've been having this week. We're looking for some dogs. Right now we still got too many cats. We got to have some dogs. And, those dogs, they go hunting. And cats kind of hide. They might still come out and snag you, but you know, I don't like cats. So we got to have some dogs, and we're still trying to find a few.
I like your metaphors. Okay, last question I've got for you. How do you manage expectations, that fine line between setting a goal and those expectations? Because I mean, the expectation is, they're going to contend for a state championship, but you don't want to get too far caught up in that. So, what expectation do you lay for these guys? I want to say August 4th, but things begin for you guys a lot earlier than that. It probably begins back in January. What's the expectation that you put down for them?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just focus. I mean, it sounds so cliche, is don't listen to all that stuff and just focus in on and we call it the Patriot way. Every team has their own saying, but this is how we stack it. We want to hit that 16-week mark in weights, and we want to reach certain things and do certain things in that, and then we want to go into spring ball, and we have spring ball for a whole month, just like colleges do, and there are certain things we want to get done with that. And then in June we hit as many camps and as many 7-on-7s and stuff like that as we can. And so we want to stack that on top of each other. And hopefully by the time we get to August the 4th, we pretty much, I mean, I feel like we could play a game today if we had to. But it's the little things that we want to work on now. So I think because of the way we do it, we just don't think about it. I mean, these kids, they'll forget. I mean, they got so much stuff at their fingertips. They'll forget what you talk about today by tomorrow. So I don't know if they even pay attention to it, Tyler, to be honest with you.
All right, last question for you, and I asked Brock about this too. But Cole Camp TV, obviously, you got a lot of kids involved in that, and as a member of the media, I think that's a really neat endeavor that you guys have started here, and kind of handing over more of the keys and responsibility to that group. And just talk about what that project means to you, and to be able to keep everything in. Because you talked about community, so much of the backbone of this program is built on community, and I think that's just the next step of it.
Well, I think anybody's been in the games. It's we got a small stadium, so that helps us be more electrifying. But when you come over here, it's usually packed. And this happens, and this is a natural transition. And when you're in small football, it goes ups and downs. It don't matter who you are. You're gonna have some really good seasons, and you're gonna have some seasons where you dip down a little bit. But with us being forced to play games that's 3 and 4 hours away, our people can't see us, and our media can't see us. You can't go to Martins Ferry and watch us play. So we're gonna bring it to you. So. With the help of our school board, Dr. Starcher, our principal, they came up with this idea of having, and it's school based, and our students do it. And they film today. We got them out filming all the stuff and for all the picture days and everything, and they love doing it. So it's that hands-on stuff that you like to have in school that makes kids want to come to school. And you put all that together, it's more exposure for our program. People that won't get to travel to Cleveland to watch us play Martins Ferry next year, you can watch it on TV. Last year we was on Brook, you could watch us on TV, and it's so professionally done. When you watch it, it's almost like you're on ESPN. It really is. They do a marvelous job. So we're going to bring it to you, and let our parents. And guess what? If you're a grandparent and you live in Charlotte, North Carolina, you can watch a game. And we're really proud. We had 30,000 views in playoffs last year. That's pretty good for a small old school on top of the hill by a coal mine. So, we're proud of it. We're growing with it. We've got a lot better. Mr. Stevens, he's our guidance counselor. He helps us with the program. So, and I teach the class. So, it's a really fun project for us. And we do all sports. We just don't do football.
Now, will you guys be at every football game with this?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We was at every one last year.
All right, so Cole Camp TV, you can catch every game streaming there. You can also catch additional coverage on PlaySheetSports.com. Coach Lilly, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me today, and best of luck this season. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely.